Hello and welcome back to what is now podcast number 12. I am Claire and I will be your host for today, and I run Beautiful Things, which is a craft and sewing studio in Brentwood where you can come and learn to craft and sew. We are in Essex in the UK, and I am going to spend some time with you today talking about some of the things that I've been knitting and crocheting and some of my crafty plans for the weeks to come. So you can find me on all the normal social media places. We're on Facebook as Craft Classes at Beautiful Things. I'm on Instagram as ArtyFartyMac, and you can find me on Twitter as Claire Macaness. We do also have a Ravelry group, which would be really nice if you'd go over and join in the fun, where we post general chit chat about the podcast, as well as information on all our crochet alongs and knit alongs and any giveaways and swaps that we're doing. So I'll pop the details down below so that you can go and have a look. So I'm going to start off today with a what am I wearing? And as you'll see, I have on my Truly Hooked Eliza top. Now, if you watch my last podcast, you will have seen that we were debating whether it was an FO or not. The pattern has sleeves in it, and I couldn't decide whether to put sleeves in it or not. So I showed you it and I said, is it an FO or does it need sleeves? And it was completely unanimous. All of you said, don't put sleeves in, it's done, it's lovely, it's bright, it's funky, it will be great for the summer. So I agree with you entirely. In fact, when I filmed the little video segment to pop into the podcast, and I looked at it at that point, I'd already made the decision that I wasn't going to put the sleeves on, and I was really glad that you all agreed with me. So thank you for that. So it is an FO. This is going to be entered into the finished object thread on our Ravelry group. We've been running a crochet along for the Eliza top for the last month, and it hasn't quite finished yet. It doesn't end until the end of November, so you've still got time to enter if you want to, and to be eligible for a prize you need to have a finished Eliza top. You can make it in any yarn you like. There are two separate prizes, one for people who've used Truly Hooked yarn and one for people who've used alternative yarns, so you can crack out your stash. You have just over a week left, and trust me, if you've got a couple of evenings or a couple of afternoons spare, you will get one of these finished from start to finish. They're so easy. They really are lovely. I've already decided I'm going to make another one, but in not quite such a leery yarn this time. I'm going to look for something that's a little bit more muted and understated, and probably not quite so variegated, to show off the nice pattern and the stitches. So when I come across something that I like, I will purchase that to make myself another one. So that's what am I wearing. It's also my first FO. Now, this podcast is called All the FOs, and the reason being is that I have so much to share with you. I've been really busy, but I've been really busy with lots of little projects, so they've all been finished really quickly. In fact, I had so much to share with you today that when I wrote out my show notes, I realised that I was going to go way over an hour, which is way too long for a podcast in my opinion. So I pulled quite a lot of it out, and I've actually moved it to my show notes for the next podcast that I do. So I don't think that there'll be very long between this podcast and my next one. But I decided not to bore you, and I'm going to try and keep it down to about 45 minutes at the most, because I think that's a good time for a podcast. I will listen to podcasts that are an hour and a half long if they're people that I really love and people that I enjoy, because I know that sometimes life gets carried away with you, and you will just spout on and on about all sorts of things, and you get excited and you want to share that excitement with your viewers. So I get that podcasts can overrun, but my thoughts has always been, if I aim for 45 minutes and I go a little bit over, it's not a disaster, and if I go a little bit under, it's not a disaster either. So let's start straight away with my finished objects. So I'm going to start with some of these baubles. Now, these have been made by me in classes this week, so I think I already showed you this one a couple of weeks ago. This was the sample I made for the class, And then we've gone on subsequently and had the class, and in class I made these two. Now they are using a combination of different cottons. This one is all the Rico cotton. This one's a little bit of Rico, a little bit of Rowan Glacé and a little bit of Starcraft I think in there. But they are following a tutorial from Heather from the Patchwork Heart. And we've had loads of ladies making really nice baubles. We did a class at BTHQ in Brentwood last week, and we had a class at my house here on Tuesday evening. So I've got lots of people happily hooking away Christmas baubles. We don't have any more classes now for that this year, but we do still have space around the craft table, so if you do want to come in and make one, then I'd be more than happy to let you sit down with the pattern and you can crochet to your heart's desire. Heart's content? No, hearts, you can just crochet. So the other thing that I've been doing is working on some samples for next year. Now I know that sounds absolutely crazy, but what I find is that when I'm caught up in festive feelings or Halloween or Easter, I find that I come up with new ideas for classes, and by just writing it down in my book and thinking nearer the time I'll make that, I never get around to doing it. So for this year, I've decided that as soon as I get an idea, no matter how far in advance it is, I'm going to make it, write the pattern, photograph it, and then I'm ready to put that on as a class. So after doing the Christmas bauble class, I decided to have a little play with some Easter eggs. And I made this little Easter egg. We can see him. He's really very, very simple. And it's all crocheted around one of the styrofoam eggs that you can get. It is really, really basic. I just wanted to get the basic pattern down. It's amigurumi, so it's good technique class. And I'm going to make some more and change up some of the stripes, the patterning a little bit. And I thought also where they're joined together, you could put some beads and decorate it as well. So this is just a little basic prototype, but the pattern is written down and we're good to go. So I just need to make a few more of those over the next few weeks or so, and I'll show you them as they come off my hook. The other pattern that I've developed, this one, I'll show you this first of all. This is one of the little Santas that Carol taught in our Christmas decoration class. Now I was talking about them the other week and I didn't have them to show you. So he's got this lovely loopy beard, and I thought it'd be really nice if I could make a crochet version of him. So at first I tried to do the loops and tried to work out how to do it, and I couldn't work it out straight up. So while I was in developmental mode, I thought I'd come up with something a bit different. So I decided to try some popcorn stitch, and I made this little chap. You can see him. So I've done a popcorn stitch beard, and then he's got fuzzy yarn for the brim of his hat, and a nice little hat with a pom-pom on the top, and then I've given him a jingly bell for his nose. So I'm really pleased with him. He's completely designed and written, pattern's been written completely by myself from scratch, obviously inspired by this little knitted guy. So I have written up the pattern for him as well. He's all photographed and he's good to go. So he will be a class for next Christmas, so Christmas 2017. Although I have had requests from some people who follow me on Instagram, can we do a Christmas in July class, please, Claire? So yes, we will do a Christmas crochet in July class so that you can get started on your Christmas decorations for next year. So I'm particularly pleased with Mr. Santa here. But working out how to do loop stitch in crochet led me to come home the other weekend and experiment. And I'm particularly pleased with these. Now, if you follow me on Instagram, you might have seen a sneaky peek. But I did master how to do loop stitch. And in doing so, I used up this yarn that I showed you a few weeks ago that I didn't really know what to do with it. I believe it's a King Cole yarn. Or it might be a James C. Brett. I can't remember. I haven't got the wool bands anymore. So if anybody knows, do let me know. This was just picked up in a little yarn shop nearby to my house. But I did master the loop stitch and I made these. But here's the loop stitch to see if it will show you. Look at that. It does look fabulous in this yarn. It does really remind me of a Fraggle So from the Fraggle Rock, if you remember, the strange Jim Henson Muppet creatures. So I turned my piece of loop stitch into a hand warmer, and I have made another one of these. So I have 2 of them. I'm not going to put them both on, but I now have grand plans for doing this as a class in 2017. But I also thought if we did this in brown and I then crocheted a mitten top to it in a beigey colour with some ears, it would make really cute hedgehog mittens. Likewise, you could do a white or a cream and a black face or a white face, and turn them into sheep. So I am going to have a go at those over the next few weeks or so. I will put it on as a class, but I also think I might actually do my very first Ravelry pattern, so that you can have a go for yourself. But we'll see. It's work in progress, but let me know what you think anyway. But they're lots of fun and they feel so super soft and fluffy. So I'm particularly pleased with those. So it just goes to show you can crochet loop stitch really, really well. And in fact, in last month's Simply Crochet magazine, which I hadn't got around to reading until a couple of days ago, I wish I'd read it sooner, there was a really good pattern in there for a loop stitch scarf, and a little tutorial on the internet that you can go and follow. So I found that, as I say, literally I stumbled across it a couple of days ago after I'd already painstakingly searched through YouTube and books and internet tutorials and goodness knows what to work out how to do it. So that was a bit annoying. The other thing I have to show you, this isn't knitted or crochet, but it is lots of fun, and that is my pom-pom pudding. So we made these last year at Beautiful Things for Viv's birthday. She had a birthday party with us and we made pom-pom puddings. They're really, really simple to do if you've got pom-pom makers, and the leaves are just felt, but you could crochet little holly leaves if you wanted to. Again, we've got a class for this next Tuesday evening at my house and also next Saturday. And next Saturday is Small Business Saturday, so if you're looking to support a local business near you, then Saturday is a good time to do that. Obviously you need to try and do it every day, but Saturday is a particularly good day to do that, and you might find that they have activities taking place because it is Small Business Saturday. So if you want to come and learn how to make these, then as I say, have a look at my website. I'll put the link below. There are classes for those coming up in the next 2 weeks. So, oh gosh, here we go. So the next thing I want to show you, we had a popcorn slouch hat class on Friday, and I always like to make a hat in that class because it's much easier to be able to show people what they're doing if I'm making it as well. So I have actually got loads of these hats now because I've made it so many times, but I do love it. This is the top of it, so you can see you've got all these lovely rounds of popcorn stitch. It works really, really well in a variegated yarn, and I used a ginormous ball of marble chunky James C. Brett. Now this wasn't actually the yarn that I bought to make my popcorn hat in, it was the yarn that my mum bought, and she was doing the class as well. But because it was a bit of a dull day and she doesn't have the best eyesight, she was really struggling working with this colour because it's quite a dark colour. So I actually swapped with her and I let her have my ball, which was more of a, I think I showed you a couple of weeks ago, it was more of a pale cream with a little bit of red and green in it. So it was a bit Christmassy, but it was much paler and it was much easier for her to work with. So she's ended up making my hat and I've made her hat. But that does mean, unfortunately for her, that I get to keep this one because my tension is a lot bigger than my mum's, and my hat is much bigger than my mum's, and my mum only has a tiny head. So, I can't put it on. I've got a big hair clip in the back, so it's not going to work. But the nice thing about these hats is it sits snug round the face, and then this lovely big circle falls and sits down the back of your head. It's a fantastic pattern. It's really quick to make, and it is a pattern by Wink, and it's her popcorn mandala hat, I think it's called, or popcorn slouch hat. Again, I'll put the link in the show notes if you want to go and make one for yourself. So I have that to show you. And then I'm going to have to pop, I've left the other thing I want to show you on my coat hook. So hang on 1 second and I'll be right back. Okay, here you go. So this was work in progress when I last saw you, and there was about that much of it. Within 2 hours, I had completed this cowl. I absolutely love it. I have worn it every single day since I made it. It's super cozy. You can hide in it like a turtle. And it's so soft and snug, to the point that I have now made another one out of that leftover yarn that I had. Now I've got the ball tag for this. Oh, it's on the floor. This is Miss Trico Filati, and it was yarn that we purchased at Ali Pali last year to make a jumper with. So there was just a ball left over it, and I was going to make the hat that Emma from Potter and Bloom had made out of Fisherman's rib. But I decided I would use just that one ball to make a very short cowl for my daughter. So it's just a 1 loop because it's just 100 grams. And I do absolutely love it. It knits up beautifully. And I'm going to tuck that away so she can have that for Christmas. But my one is superb. I did go live on my Facebook page earlier on in the week with full instructions, links to the Knitting Expats tutorial, but also the changes that I made to the pattern. So if you want to find that, go and have a look on my Facebook page, Craft Classes at Beautiful Things. I'll put a link below, and you can have a look at the live video. It's only about 2.5-3 minutes long, but I talk about the needles that I use, the stitch count, etc, etc. Mainly I did it because I've worn it every day, as I said, and so many people ask me about it. I wore it to Knit and Natter while I was knitting the one I did for Isabel, and all the ladies at Knit and Natter were saying, what is it? What can I make it with? I really want to do it. So I filmed the little video tutorial for you. As I say, it's a Knitting Expat design by Mina. She made it in a super chunky yarn with big 15mm needles. This is just super chunky, and I made it on 8mm needles. But it is absolutely lovely. It wraps around twice, as you can see. It's super cozy, and I just used 200 gram balls. The yarn was from Pound Stretcher. And I joined it together. I just did a slip stitch crochet join. So it's fairly neat, but I always just put that bit at the back of my neck to put it on. And then obviously when you cross it over, it covers up your yucky join on the back. So it's lovely, it's gorgeous. I have grand plans to make lots of these for Christmas. So I think that's all of the FOs, but there is quite a lot of them, as you can see. I haven't been working very much on my regular projects that you've been aware of. It really has been sort of small fry, lots of little bits and pieces. So I'm going to move on now to what's on my hook. So really, lots been on my hook, but lots off my hook. The only thing that is currently on my hook is my contour shawl. I haven't done anything to it at all this week, so I'm not going to bother showing it to you. But I will do some more this week. I'm going out tonight and I'm going on the train, so I'm going to take that with me on the train. The other thing I did discover while I was looking for yarn and things at home, I don't keep a great stash at home, most of it's at work, so I was delving around in my basket and I found a hat that I'd been working on for Izzy. Isn't he cute? There's a little owl hat, and I didn't realise I'd actually almost finished. All I had to do was stitch the black circles on. I'd crocheted them, I just hadn't stitched them on, and make the ear plaits, or the plaits that come down from the ear. So I stitched the 2 eyes on the other night, and I've done one of the plaits, and I've got another one to do. So that will be an FO. In an ideal world, that would be a good thing to give her for Christmas, but she has already spied it, and it is chilly, and she does really need it. So she will be getting this in the next couple of days. So I'll try and get that finished before the next podcast, and I'll see if she'll do a little model shoot for you so you can see it on. So that's all that's been on my hook, so not a lot really, I'm afraid. So what's on my needles? Okay. So, sock drama. You'll remember last time I had made my shorty sock out of my BTHQ Little Boo dyed yarn. Well, it didn't fit. I couldn't get it over my foot, and I was deciding whether I was going to give it to Isabel or keep it or rip it back. Anyway, that night I ripped it back the very next day, one of you lovely viewers posted a link as to how I could have put a line in, a safety line, into the top of my sock, pull back the cuff and re-knit a ribbed cuff. And it looked really, really simple to do, but by that time it was too late. I'd already pulled it back. So thank you for that. But I pulled it all back and I have recast on. So I was working on my DPNs, but I've decided to go back to Magic Loop. The reason being is that I've decided to do some stripy socks. So obviously when you're doing stripes, rather than having to count, if I do it Magic Loop, then when I get to the size that I'm happy with, I just change colours, and it's much easier. So I'm not counting my rows. So you can see I've re-knitted my cuff. I did do those on my DPNs, and then I put them onto the Magic Loop. Then I've done some of my BTHQ stripe. I've gone to pink, and I've just changed to brown. So they're not the neatest, I have to admit. My joins aren't fantastic. I'm not sure that I'm necessarily doing it the right way. I did look up a couple of methods on YouTube, but I'm happy with them. At the end of the day, they're scrappy socks. They're using up what's left of my BTHQ sock yarn. And then I'm using my colours that I bought from Yarndale from 5 Moons. So they're my work in progress. Because I'm changing colours, there is an awful lot of tailings. That's the only problem. And I'm tying them off as I go, so that they'll stay put on the inside. And then obviously I'll darn them in later. But I'm tying them off because otherwise I'm worried that the whole thing's going to unravel. So I'm keeping that in my little project bag. This is one of my project bags that I made from Dashwood Studios. Turtle fabric and a little bit of IKEA for the accent. I also have on my needles my Talisane jumper and my void shawl, but they have stayed in the bag this week. They haven't come out at all. My void shawl came out a couple of weeks ago. I made a big fat boo-boo on it and got to the point where I did actually have to cry for help, and Carol had to fix me and knit me backwards. I then re-knitted it and made exactly the same mistake again. But this time I was brave and I backwards knit it myself. So it was a learning curve, and I think I made that mistake so that I could do it again by myself. So I still can say that I have fixed my own mistakes, even though I had Carol's help initially. With the void shawl, I've got to the point now that the rows are so long that I really do have to knit it when I'm on my own, in peace and quiet. No one's going to disturb me. I can't watch anything. I can't listen to anything. I just have to zone into the void. And finding those slots of time when you've got 2 children and a business and a husband to look after is really hard. But I'm purposely now just making sure that I only knit on it when I have that time, because otherwise I'm just going to end up making silly mistakes and then I'm spending my time fixing them. So it's not going to get done any quicker by trying to sneak in knitting time. So I'm being good. So that hasn't been touched. Neither is my Talisane jumper, but I really must get some done this week coming and weekend. So now that all the little projects are out of the way, I can focus on those a little bit more. So the only other thing I have on my needles is I love these Fisherman's Rib cowls. They literally knit themselves. They're so quick to do. And my little boy saw my one and said he'd really like one, but he wanted a red one. So I popped into the dreaded Hobbycraft, sorry. I know I'm a big supporter of the old local yarn shop, but I needed the red. I needed it that day. I don't have a local yarn shop in my town, and I happen to be in Basildon, and so I popped into Hobbycraft with a friend and I purchased some red. Now this is a Signet super chunky. It is really super soft. It's very similar to the limey green in texture, but like the limey green, it does have a real aura. So you can, I don't know if you'll be able to see it on the camera, probably not. You can see it's a bit fuzzy. And so it does pill quite a lot. So it isn't great in that respect, but it is really super soft and snuggly. I say it knits itself, and it did. It was doing brilliantly until the other night when I just got distracted, and I don't know what happened, but I think I ended up knitting a row 1 when it should have been a 2, or vice versa. And it went from being beautifully stripy to just a hot mess. I really don't know what's happened. You can see here, I gave up halfway along the row, stuck it on some stitch keepers, because it really is an absolute hot mess. And it is impossible to knit backwards because you're knitting 1 in the row below. I just don't know what loops to pick up, and I just ended up getting in a horrible mess with it. So, sorry, Carol. We have knitting clinic on Monday where the lovely Carol is coming in. If you have any problems or you need a bit of help with something, or you need to learn something new, you can come in and Carol will help you. So, Carol, here's your first job. Can you show me how to knit this back, please? Just to hear, and then I can carry on with it. So I'm leaving that be. I'll come back to it later. But that leads me nicely onto acquisitions. So last Thursday I went to Craft and Cake, it's called, which is like a kind of knit and natter group at Sconch, which is a lovely yarn shop in Braintree owned by my friend Sam. I think I talked about it previously. It is a bit of a trek for me to go there, but I went to pick up some yarn for another project, and I did say I would mention it in this podcast, but I'm not going to. It is one of the acquisitions and one of the projects that I've moved to my next podcast because it's not urgent to show you. I'm not starting it anytime soon, and it's something I can talk about in a bit more detail on another podcast. However, whilst I was there, I was working on Izzy's bright coloured Fisherman's Rib cowl, and I noticed that she stocks the Starcraft XL, which is Starcraft's new super chunky. So I picked myself up a beautiful ball of pink to make another one for me. I picked up a lovely ball of purple to make one as a gift for a friend for Christmas. And I also picked up a ball of burgundy to make one for my husband. Now, believe it or not, I said to Stuart, would you like one, when I'd finished my green one? And he said, actually, I think I probably would. And I said, well, try my green one on and see if you like it, if it fits you, if it's comfy. And he put it on and he loved it. So he chose burgundy. It matches his car, and he's got a grey coat. So I'm going to make this for him. He knows he's getting it, but I am going to make it for him for Christmas. So 3 projects to get done. Well, not necessarily the pink one, but 3 projects to get done for Christmas. But it is so easy to do. Literally 3-4 hours if you don't muck up. And you can make one of those fabulous Fisherman's Rib cowls. So I got those. So I shall be working on those. Now, the next 2 are super, super special. Now, I don't know if any of you, sorry about the rustling, let me just take this out the bag. I don't know if any of you follow Wool and Vine Yarn's podcast, which is called Yarngasm, and the lovely Kristen does a weekly podcast. She's from Brooklyn, New York, and she does lots of knitting, lots of crochet, lots of sewing and dressmaking. And she's also an indie dyer. So I've been following her podcast for some time. I really, really like it. It's really laid back and it floats my boat completely. But she was having a yarn sale. Now, I don't normally go and look at her yarn sales because obviously they're American, and so the postage is quite a lot. You're looking at, I think it was about $16 postage plus the cost of your yarn. And they are beautiful yarns and they're all hand dyed, so that you're looking at quite a lot of money. However, when she showed off this skein on her podcast, I had to have it. To the point I didn't care how much it cost me. I set an alarm on my phone because it worked out it was going to be 11 o'clock at night UK time on a Friday. I set an alarm on my phone knowing that I'd have probably had a few G&Ts on a Friday night and that I didn't want to forget. I had it ready and open on my laptop from about 10 o'clock at night, and when she hit for sale on all of her yarn, I was like a woman possessed, and I was really chuffed when I got this. But it did come I'm going to tell you, my mum's watching, she's going to have horrors. It did come with postage to £38 for one skein of yarn. But it's called Octopus Garden, and it is beautiful. Now, I'm really hoping the camera is going to pick up this beauty. Come on, my love. There we go. Can you see? It's got gold stellina. It's mustardy green. It's orange. It's pink. It's purple. It's cerise. And then it's green and aqua and blue. And it's just beautiful. I would like to think that this is what a unicorn's poo looks like. In fact, that might be what I would have called it, unicorn poo. But no, Octopus Garden. I absolutely love it. It's on her blitzed base, which is a gold stellina base. It is superwash merino nylon gold stellina, 2-ply sock fingering. I like the way she says on the care label, machine wash if you must. I absolutely love this. And because it was so expensive, I need to do something super, super special with it. So I know exactly what I'm going to do with it. You're not going to see this knitted up anytime soon. So I know all of the podcasters out there have already done this. I know I'm really late to the table, but I'm going to make myself a Stephen West exploration station. I was very kindly gifted the pattern by the lovely Lorraine recently, and I have wanted to do one for a long time. I know that it will be a challenge to me. There are lots of things in it that I've never done before. But Lorraine assures me she's knitted lots of Stephen West's shawls. Not an exploration station though. She has said she'll do it with me. She's assured me that there are so many fantastic tutorials out there and lots of help and advice that I shouldn't struggle at all and I should find it really easy. So that's what I'm going to do. But I'm going to use this as my main yarn, and then I'm going to find another 3 yarns that tie in really nicely with it. Maybe something a bit speckled and then a couple of more plain tonals, so that this will really sing and really pop. And then I need to work out which sections of the pattern I'm going to use this in, to basically really make it sing. So I'm going to buy, I'm not just going to buy any old yarn to do that. I'm going to buy skeins when I'm somewhere special. So I have a couple of events coming up in the next few months that I'm going to. So I'm going to take this with me and I'm going to pick up those skeins at that point. I'm also going back to Amsterdam in January for my birthday, and so I'm going to go back to Stephen and Penelope, so I may treat myself to a nice skein of hedgehog fibres or Madeline Tosh or something really luxurious. I figured if I've spent this much money on this yarn, I might as well push the boat out and make something spectacular. It probably won't be finished before this time next year, but I don't want to rush it. So I'm going to look out for those perfect yarns and try to pick up one from each of the events that I'm going to between now and March, so that I can start it in the spring with Lorraine's guidance. So love this, it's beautiful. I just want to hold it and stroke it and love it forever. Maybe I should put it on a lead and take it for walks. It's just beautiful. So Kristen, thank you for that, and I will keep you updated as to my progress with finding 3 little friends for it. So I have one more acquisition. It's not yarn, but I have treated myself to one of these. Now I don't know, though many of you that might know what's inside here, but you can open it. Inside is a full set of Knit Pro Symphony Rosewood interchangeables. What a lovely treat. So when you lift up this lovely velvety soft lid, inside you've got all of your cables and your stroppers and things. It comes with a little shawl pin made out of the rosewood, and a little Knit Pro sizer as well. which is handy because although Knit Pro do print the sizes on the sides of their needles, they do wear off sometimes with time. So the reason I treated myself to this so close to Christmas was that I looked it up for my husband to buy me for Christmas, and it was looking at about anywhere between 135 and 140 pounds for one of these. And obviously I do own a shop, so although we don't sell that many knitting needles and things, and I don't hold big stocks of them, I use the same supplier to buy my pom-pom makers, my threads, my needles, my magnets, my pins, my rotary cutters, all that sort of stuff. And I use the same supplier, and they stock Knit Pro and Clover products. So I had a look at how much they are wholesale. Now, I'm not going to say this because it probably wouldn't be particularly professional of me, but obviously you appreciate that shop owners need to mark up their products. There is a huge markup on these sets. It still wasn't cheap, don't get me wrong. I still spent a fair chunk of my own personal money on these, but I did buy them wholesale. But if anyone else would like a set, I probably can do you a fairly special offer, a fairly special deal. I'd need to look at what that price could be, but I'm pretty confident that I could bring it in lower than some of the shops and things that sell these online, mainly because I wouldn't be doing it to make a massive profit. I know I'm not allowed to sell them at wholesale prices, that defeats the object entirely, but I could certainly see what I could do for you. So if you are interested in a set of anything, then drop me a line and I'll see what I can do for you. So they were my little treat to myself, and I think, yeah, that's all of my main bits over and done with. So I'm just going to move on to chatter and also talk to you about some of the other podcasts and things that I've been watching recently. So first things first, I thought I'd tell you about the events that I'm going to. So as mentioned already, I'm off to Amsterdam again. I am also going to be exhibiting at, and will do a spot of shopping at, the Waltham Abbey Wool Show, which takes place in February in Waltham Abbey, at the Waltham Abbey Marriott. I'll pop the details down below. I can't remember the exact date. I think it's 17th of February. Rings bells. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I'll pop the details down below. I'll have a stand there with our semi-virtual crochet courses and some project bags and bits and pieces. So we'll be there. And then I'm very excited. I hadn't told you, but I had planned this back in August, I think, but with the run up to Yarndale, everything just went by the by and I completely forgot about it. But I've had my hotel and my flights booked for ages. I am going to the Edinburgh Yarn Festival. So I know quite a few of the other podcasters, Katie from Inside Number 23 and Vero from Along the Lanes, have already said that they're going. In fact, they're going together, which will be nice. But I'm going with Elspeth and Viv and Lorraine, so three of my lovely ladies. And we're going to be going up on the Thursday. So we're hoping to go to the Thursday night party that I've heard takes place. I've never been before, so it's all new to me. The Thursday night party with all the Scottish dancing and all the lovely Scottish food. And so I'm probably going to wear my Truly Hooked Eliza top. I might wear a little leather mini or some leather trousers or something like that, just to funk it up a little bit. Very 80s style. So I'm looking forward to that. Then obviously the Friday and the Saturday we've got the show. I've applied to get entry into the podcaster lounge, so hopefully I will be able to get in there and meet some of you other podcasters who are off to the Yarn Festival. And I have every intention of having a finished void shawl and a finished granny cardigan coat thing by then, so you should be able to spot me when I'm wandering around the show. So if you're coming to Edinburgh, let me know, and hopefully we can arrange to meet up. Yeah, so they're the shows that I'm going to. I also promised you in the last podcast that I would have a project bag sale, and I did have some people comment and also send me messages saying, where's your shop? I can't find it. I want to buy a project bag, but they weren't online. I hadn't put them online yet. Now my shop is on my website, clairemacaness.com, and I've put the bags in the gift section, but they are currently not live. They will go live at 9 p.m. tomorrow, which is Friday the 25th of November. So at 9 p.m. UK time on the 25th, the bags will go live. There isn't many of them. If you want to see them in advance, then there is a collage picture on Instagram and also on Facebook, so you can see what's on offer. There is about 12 altogether because I have a couple of doubles, but I've done them all as sets, so they're not individual bags. You're going to get a project bag and a matching notions pouch. Some of them are a project bag and notions pouch and DPN holders, and some of them are a little notions pouch and a digital row counter to match. So they're all done as gift sets. Postage is included in the price, so it's not extra for UK buyers. If you're international, then I'm afraid there is postage to pay. But that will be 9 o'clock tomorrow night. There will be a bag sale, so hopefully I'll see you then. They are not going to be regular things, so don't get too excited. If you want one, you need to snap one up. They are literally me selling off stock that I already had from Yarndale, and I won't have time to make anything else before Christmas, and I don't have any intention to make anything this side probably of next summer. So if you want something, then do jump on and grab it. I will probably do another sale after the Waltham Abbey Wool Show of anything that I have left over then, but all the sets will be gone. It will just be individual bags. So hopefully I will see some of you sporting a Beautiful Things bag soon. The only other thing in my chatter is that I wanted to talk to you very, very briefly about tea. So I've noticed there are two things that podcasters do. The first thing is they drink lots of tea, and it's normally weird and wonderful teas. The second thing is they watch the Gilmore Girls. Now, I've never done either of those things, and I don't feel like a proper podcaster, so I think I should. So I have the Gilmore Girls queued up on Netflix. My husband is off to China for work next week, and so I have lots of time on my hands in the evening. So I am going to start watching the Gilmore Girls, and I will let you know what I think. Who knows, I might not like it, but by the sounds of things, I think I'm going to love it. So I'm going to start watching that. But I have found some tea I like. I don't like fruity teas at all. However, this one, let's in my Naughty Elf mug. I bought this from Home Bargains the other day. I think it was about 60p. This one is, you can see the colour in there. It's lovely burgundy red. It's Taylor's of Harrogate, and it's spiced apple. It's not going to show up, but spiced apple. And it is like Christmas in a cup. It smells lovely. It tastes really nice. It's really cinnamony. If you like mulled wine, it's kind of like a non-alcoholic mulled wine. So for Christmas, it's really lovely. And I discovered this one because I'd bought a couple of weeks ago the same brand, Taylor's of Harrogate, Sweet Rhubarb. And that is absolutely delicious. It's really refreshing, really, really tasty. And I went to buy another box of it the other day and came across the spiced apple. So I remembered when I was in Turkey liking apple tea. So I bought myself some of that. So I feel a little bit better now that I have found a couple of teas that I like and that are tasty. I've tried the buttermint the other day, Twining's buttermint, but it still just tastes like peppermint tea. It smells lovely, but tastes no. But these two are particularly nice. So I'm joining the in crowd, I think. Going to a yarn festival, I'm drinking tea, and I'm going to watch the Gilmore Girls. All is well with the world. So while we're talking about podcasters, I thought I'd share another couple of podcasters that I've found on my travels recently before I say goodbye. And the first one is the lovely Nicky from the Tea and Possibilities podcast. Nicky is also fairly new to podcasting, but she's no way new to knitting. She's had a blog for some time, and she's just started podcasting. So I think she's on about podcast 8 or 9. She does a lovely weekly podcast. It's called Tea and Possibilities, and she will always share with you to begin with what she's drinking and what cup she's drinking from, and then she'll go on to talk about the knitting projects and crochet projects that she's been doing. So she's a knitter, crocheter, cross stitcher, also does a little bit of sewing, just a really nice, friendly, chatty, down-to-earth podcast. So go and check Nicky out. She's also a very keen baker as well. So she's done a lot of Christmas puddings and things like that recently. So go start at number 1 and work your way through. Her podcasts are about half an hour on average, so you should be through quite quickly and caught up. But make sure you say hi from me if you go and see her. The other one that I've discovered is the lovely Sam from McCrazy. And Sam is a sewing vlogger, so it's not knitting or crochet, but she does a lot of fabric hauls and pattern reviews. She's also very keen on Tilly and sew over it patterns as well, like myself. So she's very, very nice, very sweet. She's basically on exactly the same page as me, so I've been enjoying watching her podcasts. Speaking of Tilly, that was the one thing I forgot from my chatter, and I will leave you with this. I'm very excited. Tonight I am going to London on the train, and I am going to a talk at the London Textile and Fashion Museum by Tilly Walnis, or Tilly and the Buttons. So the lovely maker of the fantastic sewing patterns like Coco and Agnes that I've made before, and she has a lovely book, Love at First Stitch. This was due to take place in March initially, but was cancelled very last minute because Tilly was poorly. So it's been rearranged for this evening, and I'm really excited. I'm going with Elspeth, so we're going to go on the train, and Tilly is talking all about how she got into sewing and how she developed her brand and her business. So for somebody like myself, I find her really inspirational, and so I'm sure that talk's going to give me loads of helpful advice and hints and tips, and I'm probably going to leave with loads of ideas and massively on a high. It's quite early actually, it's only 6:30 and it's only an hour long. So we'll be done by sort of 7:30, 8 o'clock. So I've said to Elspeth that we don't go all the way up to London for nothing. I'm not going to just go straight back home again. So I am going to go and visit the new gin bar, which is in the city. So I'm going to take Elspeth for a couple of gins, and hopefully I will get her home in one piece. But I will do lots of video while I'm there tonight. I'll probably go live on Facebook and Instagram. So by the time you see this, you may well have seen me sozzled in gin. But I'm looking forward to it, and I will say hi to Tilly from all of you. Who knows, I might even get to get her on the vlog, you never know. So I'm just going to double check. But no, that's everything I wanted to talk to you about today. I think we've probably come in at just under 45 minutes. So I will say thank you for watching. Come back soon. Do make sure you hit the subscribe button below so that you don't miss out on videos, because I've got lots of tutorials and interesting videos and things coming up for you in the next few weeks, as well as my regular podcast. So take care. See you later. Bye for now.